So there's a rule that you need to know about called the 10% rule. The most common rule everybody knows with marine construction permitting is called the 25% rule. It's very commonplace, everybody knows that. It's just been around a very long time. So the 25% rule states that legally you cannot occupy more than 25% of the navigable width of any waterway. So if you have next to a canal seawalls right now, if you have a seawall on one side, seawall on the other side, it's 100 feet wide. Your project cannot preempt more than 25 feet waterward from the wet face of your existing seawall out into the canal. The reason for that is if you use 25%, your neighbor uses 25%, you use 25, 25, 50, there's still 50 feet of canal open in the middle. So there's 50% of the waterway for navigation purposes. Now, the rule, if you read further, also goes on to state that your dock, any structure you put out into the water, your dock cannot extend more than 10% of the total navigable width of the water, as measured from mean low water on one shoreline laterally to mean low water on the opposing shoreline. And then further than that, no dock together with a moored vessel, piles, a boat lift, etc. can't exceed 25%. So the combined total width is 25%. The dock itself is 10%. So with that same situation, 100-foot wide canal, the dock actually can't extend more than 10% out, or 10 feet. And then outside the dock, the boat lift, anything else you have out there can't exceed 25%. The reason they did this is, I hate this rule in a lot of applications, especially when people have like a mangrove fringe and the mean low water line is really far back. It really screws up a lot of people. But the reason they did it is because they didn't want, if somebody had 200-foot wide canal like in Coco Plum in the Middle Keys a lot, they don't want people building docks 50 feet out just for no reason. So with a 200-foot wide canal, your dock can't go more than 20 feet out, and then you can't go more than 50 feet out total in that scenario. And why that is so like, say, we'll go back to the 100-foot example. Say you're in a 100-foot wide canal, your dock goes 10 feet out. They only want it to go 10 feet out laterally in the canal, and then they want you to build a T-head. So that whole thing can't be more than 10 feet out. And then if you put a boat lift outside of that, the dock at 10 feet plus the boat lift can't exceed a total of 25 feet. This gets really hairy, like I just started to explain, in mangrove shoreline situations, because if you measure from mean low water on one side to mean low water line on the other, you might have your mean low water line back here, and your mangrove fringe is 10 feet out into the water already. So if you measure that from mean low water to mean low water, that means that your dock has to be at the very edge of your mangrove fringe. It's not out past your mangrove fringe. It's not to be confused with the navigable width, because the navigable width is different than mean low water. So it's very important that when you look at projects, you take that into account, because where it's scary is the Army Corps and DEP don't have this rule. It's actually a local rule. So it's a City of Marathon, Village of Islamorada, Monroe County rule. So you could design a project. I've seen it a ton of times before. Actually, when they first came out with this rule, I found out about it the hard way because it hung me up and a customer on a project. You could go through 6 months, 8 months, a year worth of Army Corps and DEP permitting just to get it approved through Army Corps and DEP, because they don't care about that rule. Their rule is 25%. They don't have the 10% rule. So you go through all those agencies, spend all that money, wait your year, and then when you go to actually get it built and pull your permit with the City of Marathon or your local municipality, they can deny it because you're going too far out, and you would actually have to restart all over again with the Army Corps and DEP. So it's very important that that is on there. They're getting more and more strict about it. You used to see some slip through the cracks, things like that, but it's been around long enough that everybody knows about it, and I never see any projects get approved that exceed that rule anymore. So take that into account when you're thinking about your project and what you want to do.